back, everybody. After a 5-year pause, really starting during pandemic, the Education Department will begin collection on federal student loans in default starting today. So millions of borrowers will be impacted by this.
Our good buddy, financial expert Michael Masserant from the Retirement Education Foundation joins us now to share what borrowers can expect and how they can manage that student loan debt. So, hello, Bill. Right? I mean, you had this not around for years, and now...
just explain, can we just take one step back? Can you just give us a rear view look at what happened with students? So, student loan debt, up until pandemic, it was a fairly normal repayment process?
Mm-hmm. So, up until 2020, COVID was, to your point, relatively normal repayment process. And just to put some numbers on this, so there's about 1.6 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars of federal student loans out there. About 43 million Americans, about 1 in 6 people, have federal student loans, whether it's students, whether it's parents who took out loans for their kids, or grandparents who took out loans for grandkids. This is a pretty wide problem that we're facing here now. And for a long time, it was a relatively normal payback process. And then COVID came around, everything got thrown off, and there was a national pause on student loan repayment and on interest. And so for a lot of people who had those student loans, it kind of became, you know, it fell off the radar mentally because it wasn't a problem for a while. And people have adjusted to not needing to fit that student loan repayment into their budget. So now that student loans are coming back on the radar and are going to be required again, a lot of people are going to be realizing, oh shoot, I do have 20, 30, 50 $1,000 or more of student loans, and that's going to become part of my budget again here pretty soon.
Wow, and these are low interest loans?
So they can be low interest loans. The average federal student loan interest rate is roughly 6.5%. So they can be as low as 3% or so, but they could be as high for some of the parent loans as high as 8%.
Okay.
So it really depends on when you got the loan and what interest rate you have. And that's one of the challenges that a lot of people, especially younger students, just are not equipped to make these decisions, because a lot of these, you know, kids who are 16, 17, 18 making these choices on where to go to school, it's driven by what football team do they like, where their friends are going, and hopefully what degrees are they looking at. But a lot of them don't recognize, well, if I take out 50, 60, $100,000 of student loans, you're not paying back that number. You're paying back that number plus interest over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
So now all of a sudden you haven't had that bill coming to you every month, and now you look up, and whether it's $200, $500, whatever the cost is, you have to come up with that money in your monthly budget. What do you do?
So you got to cut spending somewhere else, and if you don't cut spending somewhere else, they may start garnishing wages. So they're pretty serious about this. They're going to start either withholding tax refunds to start collecting income on this, or start garnishing wages.
Who is the they in this scenario, Michael?
So the Treasury Department, the government.
Got it.
Yep. And so this isn't something that your employer can really fight. If the Treasury Department says, hey, one of your employees owes student loans, they're not paying, it is what it is. They're going to start garnishing wages.
Wow. Okay. So there are options. You talk about a repayment plan. Pick a repayment plan. What does that mean?
Yeah, so if someone is falling behind on their student loans, the best thing that you can do is to not bury your head in the sand. You've got to get in contact with the lender and explain, listen, you know, I owe $500 a month. I can't swing that. Let's figure something out. And a lot of these lenders will do something called an income-driven repayment plan. So depending on how much income you have coming in, your bill that you'll pay will be a percentage of how much you have coming in.
And then, do most of student loans go through the federal government? Is that how most people borrow money?
So that's typically the cheapest route. If there are private loans, those are typically more expensive. So the government typically offers the cheapest interest, lowest interest rates on loans. So most people will start there, and once they tap out their government loans, they'll go to a private loan source.
And private loans probably were not forgiven.
Not at all. No.
Okay.
Not at all. And that's, you know, this is one of the things that we're teaching in the high schools now, and really the high schoolers have been really excited to figure out, wait a minute, you know, I want to go to this school, but it costs how much per year? Holy smokes, maybe that's not the right choice for me. Or maybe I'll do 2 years at a local, you know, community college and get the 2 years knocked out cheaper. And it's really cool to see them kind of connect the dots on understanding the choices we're making today have long-term impacts on our life down the road.
It's like it's one of the reasons why it's probably easier to get into the University of Alabama than the University of Michigan or Michigan State, or they want that out-of-state tuition.
Out-of-state tuition, I mean, it's honestly, out-of-state tuition is unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah, and that's why you got to think long and hard. This is a good time to have those discussions. In fact, next hour with you, we're going to talk about when to start saving and how to make this hurt a little less.
Absolutely, for the parents and for the kids.
Yeah, for both.
A lot of pain there.
All right, and this starts today, this repayment program.
So it does start today, and so people have a 9-month window, but if they're not paying for 9 months, they're officially in default at that point. And that 9-month window is the trigger period for when they might start to feel some pain on their paychecks, whether they want to or not.
All right.
Look for Michael, Retirement Education Foundation, refedu.org. He'll be back with us in our 10 o'clock hour. Thanks, Michael.
Of course.
You bet.